Hello, viewers, fans of film culture alike. Welcome back to CinemaTalk, the official Rule Thirds podcast, exclusive to RuleThirds.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're happy to see you around. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that's, quite frankly, pretty hard to talk about, but we're going to try our best. It's meta-humor and self-awareness in films, right off of our review of 22 Jump Street. Excuse me one second. Sorry. Radio voice was getting to me. So, let's get started. My name is Jerry.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Max.
Yeah, apparently that's my new name now.
Yeah, well played.
Jerry.
Yeah.
See? I'm self-aware
You're getting used to it, Harry.
of my new name.
Oh. Right, boom. Good
Boom.
little tie-in.
All right, let's all go to the lobby and talk about self-aware humor. Let's go.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
So you see, I was being meta because I was being meta about being meta. See how that?
Yeah.
You see how that goes?
That's like triple meta.
That's like
Which is
triple
actually my
meta.
new band name. We have a gig next Saturday if you want
Triple
to.
meta.
Stop
What's
Do you
what's
sing
your-
songs about singing songs about singing songs?
Yes, all of our songs are really just documentaries on like how we wrote that song. And so it's kind of like always like a work in progress because every song we just sit down and we write the verse about like where we are, and then we talk about like how difficult that last line was to come up with. It's an ongoing process. The album drops in like a day.
Yeah, the album
We
is
move
called.
fast.
The album is called "Singing Songs About
Yeah,
Singing
the-
Songs About Singing Songs."
Yeah, see,
It's like-
the album will
perfect.
drop in a day. It'll drop in the trash can once I get it.
Some people just don't get high art. I understand. This isn't for
it's terrible.
everyone. You know, this isn't for the masses. You know, we're trying to get a
We're not
a
part
more
of your
refined
system.
audience. A lot of people won't get our music. We don't want them to. You
So
know,
your
we
band
don't
name
wanna
should really be Triple Meta Hipster.
Yes.
Man,
Okay.
what a name.
This
Anyway,
went on a while.
this gig's been going on a while. Let's move on. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for Cinema Talk this week. My name is Larry Frieden. With me, of course, are the two co-hosts of Rule Thirds, Sean Capdeville and Max Mariner. How you guys doing?
And
Wow. Kind of a negative
And you know
response from.
that's so surprising because it happens to be somebody's
Exactly,
birthday. Happy birthday! We wish it was our birthday so we could party too. Hey, that's
you
the
watch that
Emperor-
movie too much.
It is the best
there,
movie.
you can never watch The
It
Emperor's
is
New
the
Groove
best
too much.
movie. Okay, it is the best movie. But yes, happy birthday, Max! You are
Thank
officially no longer a teenager. Yay!
Yeah.
Now you have even more responsibility in the world that you'll have to take.
Yay!
Excellent. So
Can we point out that I'm it's just still kind of blowing my mind. I'm the oldest of Rule
yeah,
Thirds.
Sean is the oldest.
Yeah.
Max is the middle child.
Yeah. Which means we have to
And then,
respect
like,
our elders, Larry.
below, it's like-
Make sure
Yeah,
Sean
we-
gets his pill every 8 hours.
See now,
Hey,
now I'm gonna get all the
Hey
old
Sean,
jokes.
Sean, have you found your bottom dentures yet? Or are those still like lost somewhere in this studio?
I got the replacement pair. Stop bringing it up. Jeez.
I'm sorry.
He's self-conscious, dude. I mean, he'll probably forget that you made him self-conscious, you know, short-term memory and whatnot, but just don't do that to him. It feels bad. But tell me, Larry,
Sean,
what's on
I'm
the
sorry.
site? What's going on the site?
I'm sorry, Sean. What is on the site? Well, we got quite a few awesome things on the site. Well, we had a preview from Sean on The Fault in Our Stars,
Indeed.
a very quirky and charming episode.
How
of
quirky
review.
and charming.
How quirky and charming. Yes. So be sure to check that out. It's definitely a brand new side of Sean you'll be seeing. And then I posted a very special episode of The Greats on Roger Ebert, It was
Which
recently
Max
his
and I got to
birthday.
drop in on.
Yes,
Yeah,
Max and Sean
cameos.
made little
Max
cameo
more than
appearances.
me, but you know.
Roger Ebert was having a documentary come out about his life, and so it was his birthday recently, and I thought it would be very topical. So that was Roger Ebert. And then, of course, we had the Rule Thirds review for 22 Jump Street, the sequel to Lord and Miller's surprisingly successful buddy cop film. And
It
you can
surpassed
figure
How
out...
to Train Your Dragon 2. That is blowing my mind right now.
I
I'm
don't-
I
Really?
cannot-
Is that really blowing your mind? I think
Yes,
that- I
because
kind of
this
I kind of
never
expected that.
happens. R-rated comedies never outdo the family movies, just because family
Yeah.
movies will gather a bigger audience no matter what. because it's for a bigger audience. It's like,
guess so,
more people
but
can get in.
I knew people were expecting. I knew people were highly anticipating 22 Jump Street. So
Yeah, but
I kind of
didn't
had a
think it was
feeling.
this much.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool. I mean, I hope How to Train Your Dragon 2 is really good, as I've heard it's really good. But like to see something like this happen is actually a really nice surprise. It's not like, oh, How to Train Your Dragon 2 takes over, 22 Jump Street. No, it's the other way around. Plus, this happened last time with Neighbors and Amazing Spider-Man 2, which decimated. Neighbors decimated Amazing Spider-Man 2 the second week of its box office run. It was crazy.
So,
Indeed.
we're 6 minutes in, haven't even mentioned the
we're
topic.
We're not done, John. We're not done. And of course, today, today is Sunday when we're recording this, but I posted a newsreel on the recent announcement of Rian Johnson being selected as the director for Episode 8 of the new Star Wars trilogy, and he will also be writing a treatment for Episode 9. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
I call episode 24. That's just a good number. I'm gonna direct 24.
I call a spin-off. I call the spin-off of that Episode 24. I
Okay,
call it,
deal.
right off the bat. And of course, for those who missed it, the last episode of Cinema Talk that went up last week was, of course, about movies and video games. You can go onto our Cinema Talk page for that. All of this stuff, can be found on the ever so illustrious RuleThirds.com. But enough about that. Let's talk about
seriously.
today's subject. So, as I mentioned in the intro for this episode, 22 Jump Street had a very self-aware feel to it. A lot of the plot, really, and a lot of the jokes centered around the idea that this is indeed a sequel, and that the movie knows it's a sequel. And it knows about the trials and tribulations in which to impress audiences, despite the fact that it could possibly fall to sequelitis. And so that gave us the idea to today talk about meta humor and sequels and not sequels, just meta humor and overall self-awareness in film.
Yay!
Now, as I was doing research for this topic, I found a very interesting article on slashfilm.com, one of my personal favorite film news websites. And it's called "The Rise of Self-Awareness in Cinema. Is Film Doomed to Become a Mockery of Itself?" That's the name of the article. And it's a very interesting analysis on what it means, what kind of films are meta, how it's evolved over the last couple of years. And it asks us, will we eventually devolve into a time where meta humor has become the official way of making films? It's no longer about portraying original stories. It's about just continuously referencing what we've already seen before, just based off of the familiarity of these genres. And so that's kind of where I want to start off. We're going to talk about a few examples of meta humor, but I want to ask, are we getting tired of meta humor? Has meta humor no longer become meta? It's a very interesting topic because you always see this meta humor coming out with fourth wall breaking and overall, knowledge of your surroundings. 22 Jump Street knows it's a sequel, so it's playing at that fact. So will we ever see a time where there's no longer originality and we're just seeing the same meta humor over and over? Yeah. No. But at the same time, though, we have to think to ourselves. I know that was an easy question, but we have to.
Is it this? No. But at the same time.
But at the same time.
No,
get
Larry,
your
listen.
resounding nose, and then you're
This
like,
is- okay.
"God."
Okay, this is coming from somebody who's like, this is meta humor and fourth wall humor is my favorite kind of humor. Okay, it is. And with that said, no, we will not devolve into a time when we're just always like making fun of ourselves. There are some serious filmmakers out there who want to tell stories. Storytelling will always be a part of cinema. I don't like to use the term always to describe entertainment industries, but yeah, it's going to be that, not referencing oneself.
And it's also not just about, like, serious storytellers. It's just comedies in general. Like,
Yeah.
Neighbors had no self-awareness ever.
Yeah.
That's
But had a
just
story
off the
to
top
tell.
of my head, a recent comedy that had no hint of it whatsoever. But it was a straight comedy, and it didn't need it. So it's like, it's not the only comedic style that's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's true.
But
We
at the same
also have,
time, this is the
slapstick and
end.
toilet humor.
Is all meta.
Yeah, it's
Which I haven't
all.
Well,
seen,
I don't know
but
if it's
I
all
know.
meta humor. It's just very close to it because we're talking about
It's-
people who are basically playing themselves.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, this is the end. Goes on to eventually parody Pineapple Express, which is a film starring half of those people.
Well, yeah, because
So-
and that's because so many people have been asking for a sequel to that, and so they decided to make
Pineapple
a sequel.
Express. Right, so there's another example of self-aware humor. But what I've always found interesting is that, like, we always like to say it's meta humor, right? But it's become so used nowadays in films that it's not really meta anymore.
What do you mean, Larry?
I don't think you know
Like-
what meta means.
Well, like, I mean, people like to. I mean, of course, you can define meta as just being different, and in that sense, of course,
No.
metahumor is meta.
No, metahumor is meta means about. If you put meta in front of something, it means the thing is about the thing. Like meta theater is theater about theater. Meta film is a film about filmmaking. It's about
So, like,
if you put meta in front of something, that means the thing is about itself.
It's not
So
a
you're-
measurement of popularity.
Yeah. Like
that-
Meta Podcast is a podcast discussing podcasts, basically, and the nature of
interesting idea for-
podcasting. That would be it. Yeah, that's what
an
meta
interesting idea
is.
for an episode.
What did you
I'm
think
gonna
meta
write that down.
was?
I did no. I knew like meta humor was about being humor. It's just like I'm thinking. I don't know. It's just people. A lot of people just like to think of it as that way. I find because I don't see when everyone says, "Oh, it's real meta." People. I mean, I feel that some people that I discuss it with, they don't really see it. They have recategorized meta humor.
Meta
no
humor
longer
just
about-
means it's like it breaks the fourth wall, and it kind of shatters the illusion that these are like people like talking like that you are watching this on a screen. You were so immersed in the film, in the video, in the book, or whatever, it just stops and says, "Hey," and references itself in some way, being exactly what it is. If a book at the end of the page says, "So as you turn the page, you'll probably see what the next plot point is," that's being meta. Because that's an appropriate time for somebody to say, "Whoa, that's meta," because it's about itself. It's actually really difficult to explain, but it's really easy to identify.
Yeah. So speaking of which, about identifying meta humor, we're going to go into a couple of examples of some meta films and not meta films, but films which have meta humor in them that we personally enjoy.
Yes.
So I have quite a few examples. We're just going to go round table.
Okay, I have
and
two that I
Yes.
that I really want to talk about. So
I guess so. We'll just go around two per each. And we'll just talk about some films that we feel do a good job of not only having meta humor, but also having meta humor that's layered. That's more. It's not just meta humor for the sake of being meta humor. It actually is meaning to portray something. Kind of like how 22 Jump Street worked. So I'm going to go first. And I want to bring up The Gremlins 2. Now, Gremlins is a big hit. It's one of the most popular films from back in that era. And a lot of people still reference it and watch it to this very day. Now, Gremlins was very comedic in its sense, but it didn't really take itself very seriously. But at the same time, there was some elements of kind of some serious nature to it. But Gremlins 2 pretty much takes Gremlins and completely parodies it to absolutely no end. Gremlins 2 is essentially a parody of Gremlins, despite the fact that it's a sequel to that film. And there are so many interesting ways that they try to play off of the jokes. And you can tell that and not only that, but you can just tell that the director of Gremlins 2 and the crew behind Gremlins 2 have a true fondness for the original film. And that's a very common thing you see nowadays. If you're going to parody something, it's mostly because people are fond of that said genre. Like, that's what a lot of people will say in interviews and things like that. So I just find it interesting how Gremlins 2 is directly a sequel to a film, yet it parodies it completely. And there aren't that many examples of it. And what's even weirder is that this is one of the early... This was not early, but it was like quite a few years ago Gremlins 2 came out. So it was interesting to see this pattern come so early. And we obviously see parody films very early. Mel Brooks is a good example of that. But I don't know. I just found Gremlins 2 to be a very interesting idea of how you parody a film and in what light in which you parody it. That's my first example. Huge recommendation to see Gremlins and Gremlins 2. Brilliant films. Sean, what about you?
are we gonna chip in on your thing, or do you want to?
Oh, well, it seemed like you guys were very
personally,
silent.
I have nothing to say. I've never seen either movie.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, well, there you go. You guys seem very silent, so I thought I'd just take that one over. But
right.
anyway, I highly recommend you both see Gremlins, and Gremlins 2, by the way. Fantastic, fantastic films. Anyway, but I guess I'm the lone star in that one. Sean, go ahead.
Well, I guess the first one I want to talk about, neither of mine really fit the criteria of there being meta for, that they have layers, especially this first example being the Expendables. 2 is the one I prefer. Mostly because it is more meta. Like for people that don't know, the Expendables is pretty much, let's get every 80s, 90s action star we possibly can and throw them in one movie and they blow stuff up. It's just a celebration of these big stars. The first one was pretending that it would have a story and legitimate stakes, and they realized that didn't work. So the second one is much more meta and much more fun, and they're more honest about what they are. You know, like, they get the joke. So much so, like, the best scene is an airport shootout in which Bruce Willis... Wait. No. Yes?
I think so.
Who says... Yeah, I think Bruce Willis tells Arnold Schwarzenegger that he'll be back. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger replies with, yippee-ki-yay. It's like, yes.
That's great.
And it's full of that. It's full of humor
timeless.
like that. I mean, Chuck Norris is in the movie, and his reveal, like, they're surrounded by an army, right? Like, the group. They're surrounded by this other army, and they're like, oh, we can't fight our way out. And then just these explosion goes off, and everyone's just destroyed. So the Expendables come like, what just happened? And Chuck Norris just emerges from the smoke. It's like, it knows that he's become, like, this legend. And so I like that it had fun with its cast, because it's a really absurd idea to get all of these names in one movie and pretend like you don't have all the big names in this movie. Have either of you seen Expendables?
I actually haven't,
I've
no.
seen them. I've seen
definitely check out
both
Expendables
so
2.
far.
You don't need to see the first.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the first one was bland
Yeah,
to me.
it wasn't that good. The second is fun. Mostly because of the meta humor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really in love with the second one, but there were some good laughs in it, I will admit, and that's a very good example of kind of being meta for the sake of being meta. There wasn't really for the sake of fun, really.
Yeah,
it was meta because it wanted to have fun with it, and I kind of admire it in that respect.
I also like how it also, I guess it kind of has layers, and I always felt like the action was just, it's absurd action, of course, and I feel like that was kind of intentional to be like that's kind of part of the meta joke. Like, we're supposed to laugh with them of how absurd the violence is. So it's like, it kind of touches multiple aspects of the film, not just, you know, saying one-liners to each other and stuff like that. It, like, the actual approach to the filmmaking is based off their, I guess, homage to the glory days of all these actors.
I see. Yeah, it was a good pick. It's definitely it's one of the more modern meta films.
I'm hoping Expendables 3 continues the trend. I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll have to see.
Yeah, the trailer doesn't really...
Yeah, well, you got
give
Mel
off the
Gibson as your
vibe.
villain. You can't be trying
That's
too
true.
hard.
That is
you know?
very true. Yeah.
You can't be...
Oh my god. That is either going to be amazingly great or amazingly bad.
Yep.
We're gonna have to see how that
It's going to
goes.
be great.
Anyway, so that's Expendables 2. Max, what do you got?
Well, for my pick, I'm going to turn to the king of meta humor himself, and you mentioned him earlier, Larry. I'm talking about Mel Brooks and his wonderful space epic Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
So, the first time I watched Spaceballs back in high school, I loved it because of the meta humor and whatnot, because it's a movie very much kind of, you know, parodying Star Wars and whatnot. And it should be well noted that not every parody is also self-aware and has meta humor, but this one was. And then I watched it a few months ago, and I realized the film is a lot more about what Star Wars had become. Spaceballs was made in 1987. This was about 3 or 4 years after the original trilogy ended. And because Star Wars was so big on merchandising and whatnot, it was the first film to really pull in people through its advertising, especially through its merchandising. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So Spaceballs basically calls this out. They're like, dude, it should be about more than just the merchandise. In fact, one of my favorite jokes is when Yogurt, the Yoda parody, when the group of people, you know, when the Han and Chewie and whatnot are about to leave and leave Yogurt behind, they say, "We'll see you later, Yogurt," and he goes, "Yeah, we'll all see each other again in Spaceballs 2, the search for more money." And it makes in that same regard, it's not just like a movie about itself. It's also kind of it's satire. It's a satire of what Star Wars had become, of how marketable it was like focused on. Wait, marketable is, my mind is not spilling things out correctly. No, it parodied, satired, and also kind of criticized how Star Wars was so focused on the merchandising and so focused on its marketable material.
Mm-hmm. And well, it is nice. like back then, yeah, there was a big focus on that. But it's nice to know that nowadays that's not a problem because now Star Wars is owned by Disney, and they never do like focus on merchandising. And
they never exploit every single thing they do.
Never, right?
Hey, I'm still excited for the upcoming Star Wars films, and Disney's cool. It's just they do a lot of merchandising.
Yeah, a lot of merchandising.
I don't know what else I really have to say about Spaceballs.
Spaceballs is amazing.
I saw
everybody
Spaceballs
long ago. Like I don't remember it well enough.
It's on Netflix. You should go watch it right now.
Okay, well,
Everybody-
bye.
Go watch, Sean.
right,
Go
bye,
watch
Sean.
it right now.
Bye, Sean.
I'm not fucking just saying that. No, go watch it.
I'm tempted to just hang up and see how you guys respond, but let's just keep it going.
All right, so let's keep the roundtable moving. The next film that I want to talk about, I'm not personally a huge fan of this film, but I understand why so many people are like in love with this film.
Oh no, don't. I hope you're not saying my next example.
Oh, what? Team America World Police?
Oh no, okay.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Team America World Police. Thanks for ruining my reveal, Sean. Anyway,
Well, you didn't have to say the name. That was on you.
Whatever. So, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. It has some very good laughs, but I think the humor kind of just it kind of becomes nails on a chalkboard after a while. But a lot of people love this movie, and I can understand why, because it does a very good job of poking very clever holes into the big budget action movie. For those who are not aware, Team America World Police is it's puppets reenacting it's pretty much a big budget, Hollywood movie, but it's pretty much just poking holes in it, like completely. Imagine anything you want, and Team America World Police is there. The first time I watched it, right when they started singing AIDS, 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 everyone has AIDS, I kind of cringed in my seat a little bit because I knew what I was getting into.
Well,
and
that would be a parody of the musical Rent, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. I believe so. But that kind of humor is not really my style.
Funny. Boom, headshot.
Wow, that was
Boom,
Ha ha ha
headshot.
ha 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 ha. Anyway, wow, Sean, that was low, dude. Anyway, so
That was brilliant. Don't even pretend.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it's not really my kind of thing. I prefer some smarter humor. But I prefer more higher class humor. But I still understand why, and I still kind of... And it does have some very, very clever holes to poke. And it's a very successful film. People still remember it to this very day, and people still reference it in many different ways. Specifically that AIDS song.
Yeah.
We're gonna kind of get off that topic. But if you want to see... Like Expendables. Going back to Expendables. Expendables doesn't really poke holes into it. Expendables is just meta in the sense that it's fun, and it's just big budget action, testosterone-filled, craziness. In the sense that we want you to enjoy seeing all these guys come together, because let's be honest, you've all wanted to see them come together for a long time.
I mean, think about it. The first trailer for Expendables 3 was literally just the cast lined up and their names appearing over them. Like, the movie isn't marketing itself on anything but the gimmick of all these actors in one movie.
But it's a pretty good gimmick.
It is.
It gets people in them seats. But then you go back to Team America World Police, and Team America World Police kind of takes a bit more of a layered approach. It doesn't just poke holes in the action movie because ha 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 funny, look at all these weird things that all these action movies do. It also does have a bit of a message behind it, and it is trying to prove a point.
It's funny, you don't even like the movie. I did. I liked it okay, and I can't think of its message.
Well, it's a bit subtle. I personally feel it takes a while to kind of... it's not like they go in front of...
I thought you liked smarter movies.
It's not a very new message or a very interesting message, but it is a message. And that is appreciated nonetheless. So anybody else? So what do you guys think? Team America World Police.
I saw it last semester. It was funny, but I don't know. Like, the problem is that it feels less like metahumor. I mean, okay, I get that it's metahumor, but when it's a direct parody, it's hard because it's so obvious. Like, it's a direct parody. What fun little meta humor are we going to come up with? Like, its entire purpose is just meta. So it's kind of hard to talk about because it's like the entire movie is exactly what you think. So I don't have any specific like things to say about its meta humor because it's all meta humor.
It's meta humor, and it's a meta film.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what we have to say. Max, what do you think?
I've never seen Team America World Police.
Moving on, Sean, next example.
Well, this is one we've all seen. If not, I'm going to hang up on this call, and you think I'm bluffing. I'm not, good sirs. I'm not bluffing. I would like to bring up the king of fourth wall breaking films, Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Sean, did you think I was not a fan of Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
I don't know. You're weird.
Sean, I love Monty Python. Anything Monty Python is good, is amazing in my book. Don't ever doubt my love for Monty Python. Oh my God, Max, what the hell?
You know what? I'm just going to kick Max off the call instead of me hanging
Max.
up. Max, you're
Yeah,
going to
Max.
leave.
No, wait,
Max,
no,
get out
wait.
of here.
Wait, this
Get outta here.
whole thing will be ruined. If you kick me out, hear me out. It was, I think I was kind of underwhelmed by all the people, trying, like, sort of you included, all the people out there who were like, oh my God, it's one of the greatest comedies ever. And it's funny, like, you know, the rabbit bit and the, and, you know, the Black Knight, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of good moments, but it overall didn't make me laugh as much as it should. I haven't seen it in many years, so maybe I should go back and watch it now, but I was just underwhelmed.
should.
And I know that ending, Sean, I think on CinemaTalk you described it, or CinemaTalk you described it to me once.
Yes.
I still don't like that ending all that much. Even if I get the joke, I still don't like it. I don't know. It was
whatever.
It was okay.
I'm so upset at you, Max. It is my favorite comedy. And most of it, I just forgot just how much it breaks the fourth wall. Like, it just flat out has
All the
one
time.
of the actors turn to the camera and ask what the audience thinks of the scene. Like, that's so great.
It's oh my God.
And like,
I love it.
And it's even like a plot point. Like, they're being chased by a monster, and they escape the monster because the animator has a heart attack, and so it just shows their animator die, and so the monster goes away, and they escape the cave. Like, who does that?
Who did that? Especially who did that back when that movie came out?
Yeah, like nowadays that wouldn't be that shocking, but
yeah, it'd be funny, but it wouldn't be like, oh my God.
But that's
so
that seems like such a modern thing to do. I mean, Monty Python is pretty timeless, but man, I love that joke in particular, and not just because Terry Gilliam made Brazil, and I hate Brazil, though that is part of it. But I love that joke. How a fourth wall breaking joke is actually a plot solution. Like that's absolute garbage, narrative speaking. But that's what makes it brilliant. That's what makes it so great. So yeah, see the movie, because there are dozens of examples I could give of fourth wall breaking jokes, and yeah, there's no way I could list them all here. So go see it if you haven't. It's a classic.
Monty Python was so ahead of its time, and that's why I love it so much.
And that's why they're still going. Like, they got a live show upcoming, which is really cool.
Did you see on Facebook? Monty Python guys had a reunion.
Well, yeah, I followed them on Twitter.
Yeah, and it was like John Cleese was there, and like all the guys were there, and it's so brilliant. Everything Monty Python. I mean, Holy Grail is great, but I mean, even the show and like Flying Sir, cuss, you know, all that
when
stuff.
The show hit, like, that's the problem with the show. Is like 70% of it is pretty forgettable and just kind of there. It's like, it could be amusing.
But when it hit,
like the movie.
No. Max, get out. Max, I'm going to drop you from this call. Right now, I'm on the Skype window. Under your name, removed from group. I just have to lift my finger on the trackpad and you're gone. Okay? Not another word ill of Monty Python. Thank you, Max.
Yes, how dare I speak ill of your beloved Monty Python.
You dareth not. They are British, so freedom of speech doesn't apply. So I can kick you off for saying bad things.
Ooh, nice.
That makes sense.
But when the show hit, though, it hits a
it does.
bullseye.
You know, we should just do a Monty Python episode, but
we should really dedicate an episode when like an anniversary pops up or something like that. But there's so much there, and the real beauty behind the fact that it was so ahead of its time, besides the fact that it was ahead of its time, is that it knew it was ahead of its time, and it really like just grasped that kind of humor and ran with it, and they knew that it worked so well, and so they just threw it at us, And, like, the silliness and the complete slapstick and all the fun stuff that everyone normally likes was mixed in with this fourth wall humor. And it was just, oh my God, it was one of the most brilliant cinematic combinations I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like, we talk about how it's have its time, this metahumor stuff, but with Monty Python, take any one of their skits from their show, make it a YouTube video just from like any comedy channel that now gets millions of hits, and it's probably like it would be the most successful. Like it fits right in. Their type of humor, which includes the meta humor a lot, even in the show, not just the movie. Yeah, it fits right in. It'd be a really popular channel.
Indeed.
Anyway, we should probably move on.
I should probably do that. I'm gonna try to see if that could start up some success. So now that the more enlightened people are done talking about their high art, Max, what do you want to talk about?
I'm thinking there are a lot of movies, like, there are a lot of meta films that I like, I would be really, I wanted to go the easy route and mention the Muppets, since they are so fourth wall meta humor, that's like their thing. I love them to death, but I feel like I've talked about them enough, and I'm still trying to get the bad taste out of my mouth from Muppets Most Wanted. So I want to talk about
Max. Jesus, relax about Muppets Most Wanted.
Hey, it wasn't a good movie. It was bland. It was
bland, mediocre, and it
I
deserved
thought it was fine. Oh my God!
I did not.
Jeez. Max is like just like Muppets Most Wanted. I have to wash the taste from my mouth. I'm just like shut
internally.
up.
My personal pick actually is your favorite movie, Larry. A very self-aware movie, and I'm surprised you didn't bring it up. I'm talking about The Emperor's New Groove.
It'd be too easy. It'd be far
but
too
it's
easy.
too good to pass up.
It's
too good.
It is,
The Emperor's New Groove is so self-aware.
Movie.
It strips away all the really like kind of, I guess not preachy, but like all like the like up in the clouds type storytelling and whatnot. Like it's a lot of Disney movies have their heads in the clouds, and that's fine. But then there's a movie that comes along and just says, you know what, we are a cartoon. Let's be real about this. We are a cartoon.
Yes!
Let's have some fun with this. And they totally do. They totally do. They get all the, like, they look at a few tropes that happen, like, we're about to go over a huge waterfall. Like, there are so many great quotes that really, like, point out how this movie is a cartoon, and it's totally cool with that. I love that.
Hey, Sean, can I just say thank you for saying Frozen
You're
as far
welcome.
as Disney Head Up in the Clouds films? Jesus Christ, no one seems to be saying that anymore. Pacha, one of my favorite jokes of the film, nobody really remembers, is the chase sequence. So Cusco and Pacha are on the chase to the palace, and Kronk and Yzma are right behind them, and you see a map where you see like two paths intersecting, and so then you go back to Yzma and Kronk running, and then you go to their feet, and you see the path like following them.
And then when they get,
and like they just look at each other like, I don't know.
And then later on, when they arrive at the palace, it turns out that even though it looks like on the map that Cusco and Pacha made it, Yzma was there, and they actually asked, like, how did you get here before us? Yzma's like, how did we, Kronk? And then Kronk goes, you got me. He pulls down the map. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Down the map that
He
we were
pulls
seeing.
down the actual
this doesn't
map.
make any sense.
Yeah.
And it literally shows the curvy path that Yzma and Kronk take to get back. He's like, I got no idea.
It's everything that makes
know.
like self-aware animated movies so funny, because it's not afraid. Like, honestly, with animation and with even puppets, talking about stuff like the Muppets, it's hard to really get past the fact that these are like animations. Like, you really can't create like this. It's really hard to make like this dramatic story through the realms of animation without being aware that this is animation. Sometimes you can totally get away with it, but not always. And with The Emperor's New Groove, it was like, okay, let's not even try. Let's just be funny and not try and be like, meaningful. And then they were meaningful, ironically, in the end. So yeah, it's my favorite non-Pixar Disney movie for a lot of reasons. And yeah, one of the big reasons is that it's so self-aware and it's so cool with itself. My friend always makes fun of me for saying this, but it's a movie that knows exactly what it is, and it loves that.
Sean, what did you say?
Lion King, man. How can it be your favorite non-Pixar Disney?
Screw
Lion King.
Lion King
King's
is like
overrated.
1.5. It's number 1.5 or something.
Lion King's a little... I find Lion King to be a tad overrated.
Larry, stop talking. I feel betrayed. One of you is bad-mouthing Monty Python.
I rewatched
One
it.
of
I
you is
rewatched it a
bad-mouthing Lion
while. I rewatched it very recently, and I do love... The Lion King's a great film, don't get me wrong, but I feel some people are very purist about it in some regard.
The Stampede scene is one of the best sequences ever put to film.
Yes, it is one of the best animated sequences I've ever watched.
You people.
But I don't... there are some things about it.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about why the Lion King is the best.
Lion King. So is Lion King 2, and so is Lion King 1.5, buddy. They're all based off Shakespeare.
That doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah, but if you were using that point to make the Lion King seem so great...
This seems to be a podcast of tangents that don't mean anything.
Well...
Anyway, but I just want to make one more good point about Emperor's New Groove. Did you know the Emperor's New Groove was never supposed to be what it ended up being?
Kingdom of the Sun, like Sunrise...
Kingdom of the Sun.
Wait, that's not what it is. Moonrise Kingdom.
It was meant to be a more serious, a more Incan-based, an Aztec-based actual cultural film. But eventually, it was through so much development hell, it got scrapped.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe that movie is full of a ton of in-jokes that was originally going to be part of the original film, but they play on it in this film. I just find that
the filmmaker's like, okay, no, we're doing a comedy. Fuck this.
Yeah, there's one great joke that I love to really think about. All the guards get turned into animals, and he's just like, "Go, follow them." And one guy goes, "Hi, I'm a cow. Can I go home?" And he goes, "Yes, you can go home." It's like, "Thank you." And he just walks off. And I'm like, maybe one of the filmmakers was like, "I tried so many years. Could I just leave?" And they're like, "Fine, go. The rest of you keep working." I think it's
interesting point of view, but again, a movie that knows exactly what it is, and the filmmakers know exactly what they're dealing with. And yeah, maybe that did come out of frustration. Some of the best comedy can come out of just throwing your hands up in the air and saying "fuck it." So that's maybe that's what the Emperor's New Groove really is.
I would just like to share my favorite joke from the movie in terms of meta-ness that I can think of. At the very end, spoiler. For an old 80-minute Disney animated film comedy. Anyway,
you should watch.
You should watch, but I don't think the plot's going to be like the hooking thing, the hook of the experience. Now I totally forgot. Oh, right. So at the end, Yzma gets the medicine that Kuzco needs, and then Kronk just comes out of nowhere with a store and smashes her into the wall. And he says, "What are the odds that trapdoor would be?" That's exactly what metahumor is. It's
what are the odds of that?
It's just admitting to the audience, yeah, we really didn't care. We just, for the sake of the joke, did that totally weak plot thing. We don't care.
I love that joke. Would you look at those eyes? Talk about blue. Anyway, so we have talked a lot about metahumor. But I want to take a very short amount of time before we end this delightful podcast to discuss why we think metahumor is so valuable in filmmaking. It doesn't have to be anything too specific.
And also, why do we like it? Why do we like movies pointing out that they're movies or just breaking the fourth wall or being very self-aware? Why do we like that?
Oh, very easy. That's easy to answer. We like being in on the joke.
That's a good point.
Like we know we're watching a movie. Right, so we're sitting in a movie theater, and then the movie says, "Hey guys, this is a movie." We're like, "Oh, you're wrong. They know too. Awesome. They know too."
I'm not crazy. They know too.
It's not that literal, but I mean, like that's what's kind of going on in our head. We're like, "Oh, they get it,"
Yeah, I feel it's great to kind of when I'm watching a movie and I see that, I kind of say to myself, you know what? The filmmakers are in on the joke, and that kind of makes them a little more relatable.
Sure,
and it kind of makes you admire them. So that kind of, when you see whatever they do, kind of like, oh, that's cool. These guys are cool. Like that kind of feeling. And I like that, especially with films like The Muppets, for example, or any of Edgar Wright's films. When he does that joke, it's like, this guy knows. He knows. It's a good feeling when you're actually watching a movie like that.
It's also, I think another reason why we like it so much is that we're so used to just movies being I guess not serious, but always being kind of immersed in its own self, being very kind of self-indulgent, which is almost inevitable when considering a film has to be, it has to be self-indulgent about itself, otherwise it fails. And it's nice just to see a movie that's guys, we don't need to put on a mask, we don't need to put on a big old show, let's just have some fun. And I think that's just a nice change of pace.
The essence of comedy, except timing, is unexpectedness in general, obviously. And so, yeah, because it's not the norm, it's just always going to be kind of amusing. Whether or not the joke itself is funny, there'll be some sort of chuckle or a grin. I don't know. I feel like any self-referential humor is going to get some sort of a positive reaction, unless it's done really terrible. But yeah, it's unexpected.
Speaking of doing it very terribly, we have seen examples of meta humor that is not good.
Have we?
I would specifically like to reference all of the dumb parody films that come out every single year.
Those have been going away recently.
Thankfully, they're no. I mean, the Starving Games was the latest one.
A Haunted House, but that bombed.
Oh,
the second one.
Haunted House 2. Yeah, that one also bombed as well.
Which had one good joke in the trailer, but that was about it.
Yeah, and the Soderbergh team, with the ones responsible for movies like Epic Movie, Meet the Spartans, all those stains on film on the industry.
Wow, harsh.
I'm sorry, I hate those films so much. And I feel that people will say, "Oh, that's meta humor too," and I'm like, yes,
but it's not
good.
But
at the same time, it's not funny because A, the jokes aren't that clever, B, it's not really that unexpected that they're making all these jokes, and C, it doesn't feel like they're doing it because they admire it. It feels like they're doing it because they're making a quick buck out of it.
Yeah, and meta humor is like any other humor, obviously. Like, people say, it's meta humor, how are you not laughing? Well, because it's badly done meta humor.
It's not funny. Badly done meta humor is there. Just like there's badly done slapstick and well done slapstick, there's well done meta humor and badly done.
And that's something that a lot
humor.
of especially those kind of movies like Epic Movie or anything like that. It's just because you wink to the audience doesn't mean they're gonna laugh. Meta humor has kind of become like this easy way out, where it's like, hey, do you not have a real joke? Guys, let's relate to them with movie reference. I got nothing.
Let's relate.
We get stuff like Cat in the Hat, which is a terrible movie. That's just they don't have any actual humor. They just go, Mike Myers, wink to the camera, literally wink. To the camera.
For me, it's a guilty pleasure. For me, the Cat in the Hat. It's not a very well done movie, but
that would be my example of bad meta humor.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
any movies?
Oh, wait. There's one joke. There's one joke that I want to actually reference. It's perfectly meta humor with that. You remember when they're on the roller coaster, and the Cat in the Hat goes, "Man, this roller coaster's just like freeze frame." Cat in the Hat turns to the camera, holds up a brochure and 2 tickets, and goes, "Just like Universal Studios." Winks, ka-ching, and it keeps going.
Yep, it's painful.
That is painful joke. It's
if we're still talking about Mike
great.
Myers, I mean, Wayne's World is a great meta humor movie. Wayne's World's one of my favorites.
That was kind of like an early Dumb and Dumber.
Okay. Are there any movies coming up that you would like to see become like a have meta humor? Because I can think of one that I'd love to see.
Guardians?
Really? No.
That's
not Guardians. Guardians is good as it is. I want to see Transformers 4 be self-aware.
It's not going to be.
I know, but I want it to be.
I wish it was. Actually, I kind of don't want it to, because that would give it some credibility, and that's not fun.
Come on, don't judge until you try it, Sean.
I'm not going to a Transformers movie for intelligent comedy. Okay, I don't know why I'm going.
Yeah, I'm going because I want to be able to just turn my brain off.
Sure.
That's why I'm going to see Transformers 4.
Okay, well, what about other upcoming movies that you'd like to see be self-aware? Because it seems like Guardians of the Galaxy is sort of like in its own world, its own galaxy.
Speaking of Michael Bay, I was hoping that TMNT would be a bit more self-aware.
It's not going to be either.
It's not going to be, but it was so perfect for meta humor. It's 4 reptilian humanoids fighting crime in New York City.
And a cheese grater.
With a rat as a master and a robot Edward Scissorhands clone as a villain. There's so many jokes.
Yeah, and the 1980s cartoon actually did a lot of meta humor. But
this is super serious.
This is serious stuff, guys.
When you hear the name Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how can you not?
And the thing is, with Ninja Turtles, they were actually a parody of a lot of the trends going on in the late 80s and early 90s. That being the teenager, mutants, and ninjas. Those were 3 big archetypes. And that was the whole joke. The fact that Teenage Mutants and ninjas were all
No, Max, Turtles was a very big trend back then. Did you not know? Max, come on.
I really don't know if you're pulling my leg here, Larry.
Max, I'm pulling your leg.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and the thing is, they were originally parodies. Like, they were super serious and whatnot, but that's because, like, that was the joke. They were all so serious. So it would be awesome for a movie like that to capitalize on that whole thing, but, well, I mean, maybe it will. You don't know. What if they're just deceiving us with the advertising? What if they are, dudes? What if they are?
Michael Bay, I think Michael Bay tried to be a bit self-aware with Pain and Gain, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It needed more. I wish he would do more films like that, because Pain and Gain is not a terrible movie. I saw it. It's not terrible, but it's not great either.
Don't give Michael Bay too much crap.
But anyway, I think we've kind of... and I just want to say, I feel that the best metahumor is the kind of metahumor that has a point and a message. That is really... Like, it's using metahumor to portray an idea.
It's metahumor in the face of satire, basically.
Exactly. Kind of like 22 Jump Street, just to kind of tie it all back together. 22 Jump Street was using its idea of sequels and then integrating into its plot to kind of push its character development and plot sequence. And I feel that was very smart of Lord and Miller to do. And like the Lego Movie was a very self-aware film in many regards. So I feel they kind of had that experience and kind of put it under their belt for their movies. And hopefully Lord and Miller can take that in stride as they continue with whatever their next project will be. But on that note, that is the end of this episode of Cinema Talk. Before we go, I feel it is time for me to address something that has come up recently. If you saw this latest episode of The Greats, which you probably should, I had a little skit where I was leaving for 2 months to find new ideas for The Greats. That is not fake. That was not for laughs. That is actually true. That I have recently been roped into some obligations for the summer. And so, for that reason, I will unfortunately be taking a leave of presence.
He's going on a quest, guys. He's going on a quest.
I'm going on a quest, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm. And you'll get experience points, you'll get shields, you'll get swords, it'll be all good.
Thank you, Max, for making my life feel like a video game. And that's a good thing, by the way, not a bad thing. And so I unfortunately will have to take a leave of presence from rulethirds.com for the summer. I will be back in late August to come back and resume my work. It's not like I'm going to be not contactable, if that's a word, but I'm not going to be able to work on Rule Thirds thing on the side. So I am relinquishing my position, and I know Sean and Max are going to do a great job, holding the reins and keeping the horse moving.
Yeah, we are.
As I will be gone.
High five, Max. Just over the internet. Well done.
But that was awkward. But for now, I will unfortunately. By now. Actually, I will be out of town, like gone, as this is being uploaded.
Yeah.
So I just want to say farewell for now, for the next 2 months. I hope you all have a fantastic summer. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for just sticking around with Rule Thirds if you have. And my name is Larry.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Max.
And once again, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Cinema Talk. Until next time, we'll see you later.
To get ourselves a treat.